want to start today by talking about my understanding of the blind spot. This term is familiar to me, one that came up during my college experience. I graduated from NYU Abu Dhabi in 2020 after 4 years of learning from and with a global community. During my time there, I encountered areas of knowledge that were unfamiliar to me, ones that had, until recently, been outside of my understanding. Taking classes in disciplines such as performance studies, however, gave me the vocabulary to locate and interrogate my positionality in the world. At university, I had the opportunity to unlearn biases that I had internalized. Together with my peers, I developed new modes of seeing and being seen, navigating my identity within the nexus of race, gender, class, and caste. In a sense, I remedied my lack of knowledge. I had filled in my blind spot. But the story is never that simple. Blind spot, the term itself, thrives within an ocular economy, where not being able to see is constructed as a deficiency. It comes from our language for blindness, a language derived from medicine, where the word blind is abnormal and used as a prefix signifying a lack or an obscurity. In a society where a blind spot is undesirable, sight or vision becomes important. It is not only about making something visible, we also use the term to express emotional and intellectual clarity. In this talk, I am interested in how we tend to position sight above all the other senses in a system called ocular centrism. I want to draw our attention to what seems normal and complicate the language we use to talk about sight. I am interested in learning from the field of disability studies, which provides us with an entry point into thinking about ocular centrism. A good place to start is Disability in Science Fiction, Representations of Technology as Cure. In this text, Catherine Allen describes disability studies as a field that reveals the ways in which disabled bodies are perceived as deviant, other, and non-normative. Allen challenges medical discourse. She calls out the narrative of curing and rehabilitating the disabled body in response to a supposed deficiency that has been detected. I want us to think about how the word blind spot propagates this narrative of curing. Instead of asking why the ocular economy does not rethink itself or positively support people with disabilities, we want to fix people who experience the world differently. We project able-bodied narratives onto them. A blind spot becomes an issue with vision, yes, but also a lack of knowledge. Why not reframe how we understand learning? Is knowledge only for those with 20/20 vision? I invite you to think about the construction of terms like blind spots and how they represent the desire to repair on the terms of vision within an ocular economy. Allen poses an important question along these lines. She asks, what does it mean to cure the disabled body? What are the cure's outcomes, and are they desirable? Keep that question in mind. I want you to connect it to a science fiction short story by Ted Chiang called Liking What You See, a documentary. In this tale, Chiang writes of a distant future where neural technology allows humans to look past appearances. In this world, lookism gets cured through a reversible medical procedure called Cali agnosia. I'll call it Cali from now on. The story is made up of interviews leading up to an election at a university. The students are voting on whether Cali should be made mandatory or not. The main character, Tamara, has grown up with Cali and is deciding whether to continue living with it. I am interested by the premise of this story for multiple reasons. Firstly, agnosia in our world is a condition in which a person loses their ability to recognize faces, objects, voices, and places. In the case of Cali, it is a medical procedure causing associative agnosia. So, it does not interfere with one's ability to see, rather, it changes how faces get perceived. Those with Cali do not experience any aesthetic reaction to people's visible differences. You do not think someone is extremely pretty or quite unattractive. Everyone is average. Cali is a technological cure that allows people to live beauty-blind lives. Let me explain the problem with this. The need for a society that looks beyond beauty arises because of the centrality of appearance in everyday life. Why would it matter what you look like if it did not matter how you looked? Chiang proposes the perfect conundrum for us to consider ocular centrism. A beauty-blind society, one where people can treat each other as equals despite beauty, can only exist if each individual accepts Cali. The technology does not impair vision, instead it changes how one responds to traits like facial proportions and the texture of skin. Take a second to think about this. If you could get Cali and change how you responded to physical appearances, would you do it? Cali points us towards the consequences of privileging visual appearances. By promoting it as a technological remedy, we are distracted from the root problem, preferential treatment based on beauty. Cured of lookism, the ocular economy seemingly becomes a utopia, but beauty standards still float around. As an individual in this society, you are given the agency to curate how you wish to be seen. What is non-negotiable is the fact that you are being seen at all times. You are not allowed to opt out. All the options are resting on the assumption that you are able, that you can participate in visual exchange. But not everyone can or wants to. Both Chiang and Allen speak to technology as a failed cure. I resonate with this point of view because technology often comes about as a response to a perceived lack. The vocabulary we use when speaking of technological advancements needs to account for bodies across the spectrum of ability and difference. So, what comes after ocular centrism? I invite you to think with me about a post-ocular world, one where we break down words like the blind spot to change how we think about sight and knowledge. In a post-ocular world, kinesthetic and auditory socialities are on equal footing with visuality. By choosing to experience the world with our other senses, we can protest on multiple levels against the ocular economy. This would lay the groundwork for intersectional, intersensational futurities where human bodies can coexist across the spectrums of abilities, desires, and differences. Thank you.